Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Sam here and I'm back in the gym for another leg day. So it's been a while since a full leg day because of the injury I've done to my toe on my foot, as long-term followers of the channel will know all about, sadly. But that's all under control, so I'm back on legs today and I'm going to show you a full workout. But as this is my cruise, I've lost a little bit of strength from the fasting as well. It's not going to be pushing it so hard. Instead, it's going to be taking the opportunity to look at some equipment that I haven't used before in this particular gym so that I can think about what's going to be most effective for me for my upcoming leg regime. So I'm going to start on the belt squats, something I have used before, but I haven't used this model before. I haven't used this model, which is the hammer strength, so I'm going to take care to do it properly and see the best settings for me that I'll know for future for pushing it hard with this exercise. So of course, with something new, I'm not putting much weight on while I get it adjusted and get used to actually using the thing. So I've just got one plate on each side, and looking at this straight away, it looks like as I raise the thing from the belt squat, the main mechanism here, I've got opportunity to move this lock forwards, which unlocks it for going lower, deeper into the full movement here. So that's what I'm looking at. That's what makes sense. And I've got the belt here. Now the belt, it's on a big carabiner, which I want to have undone for getting it adjusted to begin this. It's all a little bit tangled, you see. So you're going to get to see me, well, I wouldn't call it live because I will have to edit the video first, but I won't change any mistakes. You'll get to see me how I'm actually working this out on the fly with a new set of kit and a new machine. Right, that's locked on with the main carabiner. There looks to be a main hook on the mechanism here. You hold the handles. Okay, so what I was talking about before, that's automatically dropped down. I need to pull that forwards on the hinge. I can pop it safely there. It seems that it seems that it lets itself free like that as I stand up. So that's just something to be aware of. Okay, first set just to warm up then. Warm up done, pull that back, it goes into the rest. Now, I don't see any reason to go into a different attachment. That worked fine for me on this one, the second nearest to the machine, so I'll remember that. Having done that warm up with one plate on each side and got the hang of how the mechanism works on this particular version of the belt squat, I'm now comfortable to try 4 plates on each side. This would be picking up where I left off with this exercise, so happy to try that now. So I've remembered my stance from that warm-up set, which is fine. Get on the same hook. Let's go. I'll get one more. Ah, that's okay. That's okay for coming back to legs. I'm still a little bit ill, as you can probably tell from my voice. So I think the ideal on this for me is going to be three plates each side. But what I do love about this exercise is that for me personally, I get more knee flexion than doing a barbell squat. So this and a hack squat and a leg press are all ideal for me on quads. Let's get that again. Just the 3 plates now, easy. Yeah, perfect. It's particularly important to me to find a really good quads exercise for myself in this gym, because my go-to for really focusing on quads is the hack squat. But the 2 hack squats I've got here, the platform really doesn't suit my leg length. Doesn't really allow me to get my feet out far enough to get the maximum knee flexion that I want at the bottom of the movement. So for focusing on quads in this gym, to have this piece and it feel decent, it's satisfying to me, and I think it's going to be very important for me to use this exercise whenever I'm here for training legs and focusing on quads. So I am going to do the 4 sets today, even though I'm still a little bit under the weather, and then move on to something else, most likely leg press. This angle, you got to see how I use the brake properly, and that's me done on here. I can take the belt that they got set up for this off now and take my weights over to the leg press. Second exercise for the day, the leg press. Now, I have used the hammer strength many times, but not this particular model. It looks to be slightly different as it's the newer one, and I haven't tried this exact one yet, so it's going to be another interesting voyage of discovery for me on this first set. Not loading heavy, as you know, it's my first day back of concentrating on quads, so not really pushing anything too much because of that, and I'm a bit weaker in general. I'm getting over a bit of a cold here, so with focusing on quads, you can bring the feet a little bit lower, a little bit closer together. I'm going for something comfortable, so it's going to be a little bit more spread with the glutes and hamstrings than my last exercise, which was really feeling it on the quads there. So here with my feet just a little bit lower than what would be neutral. It's making my quads work, but not massively so compared to the rest of my lower body. Here's set 1. And out of all my lower body exercises, it is the leg press that I like to do a little bit higher rep. That's been working nicely for me the last 2 times round on off season. And they do say that most of us have a higher proportion of slow twitch fibres in the lower body, which would fit with getting possibly more growth from slightly higher rep ranges on the lower body, so more 12 to 15, 15 to 20, as opposed to the traditional 8 to 12. That's the thinking anyway. But anything between about 3 and about 30 reps can be somewhat effective for hypertrophy all across the body. But I like to play with the ratios a little bit for different muscle groups, and I do like a bit higher for lower body, and a lot of bodybuilders do, so this is my main exercise for that. Get on that again. Same reps again, I expect. No reason why not. I've had a decent break, got my breath back. Not the hardest for me by any stretch of the imagination. A little bit more than last set, that's good. Now this is a wild piece for quad development, the old pendulum squat. I've used the one in Zone, the one by Watson, lots of times. That'll make your knees ache if you're not used to it, and it's really good for quads. So just noticed they've got one here, the Myo Strength one, but on a day like today, I'm going to stick with what I know better, but definitely in future, this would be a consideration for a day focused on quads. And if you are lucky enough to have access to one, it could be a game changer for quads. But you don't need to go so heavy when you're starting out there, because it's brutal on its own. And last one on this little leg press, before we look at something more isolating for the quads. You can probably guess what it's going to be. More reps with every set. Either I wasn't trying hard enough to start with, or still getting warmed up into hitting quads properly after all these weeks. So I come in the dreaded legs isolation room, and lucky for me, I spot what I hadn't seen before, the Gym 80 version of the quads extension. And my familiarity with Gym 80 has been a pleasant one, just always well built, heavy duty machinery, reliable, don't need to put too much extra plates on or much on the stack. The machines are that normally heavily built, so this piece, I think, now that I've set the back all the way back so that my knees are nicely in line with the mechanism, I think this is going to be the ideal leg extension for me, having played around with some of the others in here. So I'm getting a good stretch at the bottom. I feel that that's, you can hear that on the stack with my legs and my calves at a sharp angle there. My quad's nicely stretched, so this is going to be the one for me, I think. Put one more on the stack before I go again. Do a little bit more there. Here it goes again, a touch heavier. And one more on here. So good. Now that's the end of my weights for the day. I felt like doing more, but as I feel like how my throat and congestion's going from being ill for a couple of days, I feel like I may be pushing it with getting that recovery there. If I push much more out of a leg stay with looking at lunges, front squats, seated leg curls, lying leg curls to bring in all that hamstring isolation as well. I think that I've established enough to have worked my quads, because that was the last remaining thing to test now that the foot and the toe have got better. So I thought it was an important session to wrap up in the video now, because you could ask, what's a session like that doing for you at the point you're at when it was just 3 exercises and nothing in there was beating the logbook or even close to it, so to speak. Not that I keep a logbook, but it is all up here and now all on the videos, so I do know exactly where I would be if I was placing more and more demand, and that I haven't done that today. You could reasonably ask, what's the point? But you've got to have that kind of glass half full mentality where on the one hand I could look at that and say, well, you know, You're not at your biggest, you're not at your strongest, and you're not at your leanest at this point, and that workout wasn't pushing anything in a further direction than you've ever been in strength on those exercises, and that would be the glass half empty. But in the more holistic scheme of things and the long-term scheme of things, I can look at an exercise routine like today in a very positive light and a very glass half full kind of mindset to it, because here I am, and I am getting better. Here I am establishing on a cruise phase and in a health reconsideration and optimizing everything, all sorts of different things at the same time that can help, like my soft tissue work, like the fasting, like the break to the digestive system, like the autophagy, like the stretching that I bring in. And just a workout like today, while not pushing things, I've experimented with some pieces of kit that are different manufacturers of pieces that I know, so a little bit different to what I know, and I've got on well with all of them, and I've now established 3 exact machines that I can get on really productively with and progress on for all of the continued off-season to come. And I've established that while getting good exercise in that's great for my well-being. And I know that belt squat I prefer to the other one, that leg press I prefer to the other one, and that leg extension I think is going to be the best one that I have access to here. So I've got 3 great pieces of kit that I've got access to that I must be very grateful for, which I know are going to bring on my quads no end in the months to come, and that I've been able to check that on 3 key exercises all in one go. The value of today's session will pay off and pay its dividends in the weeks and months to come without having to faff around with those individual exercises and individual pieces of kit for each of those exercises on separate sessions. I've knocked all of that on the head in one go today, where it doesn't matter that I'm not pushing things, because with getting over a little bit of illness and the losing strength that came with the fasting and the cruise that's come in, I wouldn't have been pushing to the extreme on anything anyway, most likely. But I've got all of that in today. It's a great win for me. It's a win for me that I've pushed myself as far as I could on those exercises, that I'm at least maintaining the muscle development in my legs from the last year or so, that I've bumped into some good friends here that I know. All that put together has made it a great session. And the extra benefit I'm going to get out today is going to do my cardio, so I'm going to get on the bike for half an hour. I shan't film that because you've seen upstairs in here on recent previous sessions during that Extreme Reset series of videos. So I'm feeling very good about it all. We'll get that cardio done, then I'll be getting back and eating. But I'm still somewhat on a diet break. The diet break, of course, doesn't mean completely eating junk or whatever I fancy. It just means that I'm eating about 2/3 of what I was eating when pushing things. So same sorts of sensible bodybuilding food like beef, chicken, eggs on the protein and fat side, and white rice and vegetables on the carbohydrate side, and lots of water. So basically all good bodybuilding stuff, just less of it, just not force feeding at this stage. Not really pushing the digestive system straight after the break, and while everything else isn't optimized, just maintaining for now, learning about my exercises, bringing in other elements and optimizations that I spoke about yesterday and throughout the reset week, and still really loving it, loving helping you guys, taking any requests where possible, which continues in the comments that you may add today. And if you like all of this real look at bodybuilding without just doing the social media bit of showing a highlights reel now and then, the real under the hood, what goes on, how this progresses over the long term, safely, sensibly and effectively, make sure you subscribe, and I'll be back with something else tomorrow. Cheers guys.